Welcome back to the Camp Memories podcast and the final episode of our three-part conversation with John Bard, who for 25 years was the executive chef and ran the camp's off-season events. In part 3, we will discuss John's favorite off-season groups, cookouts, and Havdalah. And if you've missed it, parts 1 and 2 are linked in the card above and down in the description. Enjoy.
So I was going to say that for so many of us kids who grew up at camp, the Saturday night Havdalah service was like a sentimental thing that we remember with a lot of intensity and a lot of, it was a very beautiful thing for us. And in the project that Paul and I just completed, which was a series of recordings we did of the music of Chuck Feldman, A Man Before Your Time, who inspired us as kids. His Havdalah service is something that would still put me into tears, right? And we have a recording of that up on our site. But of course, linked with Havdalah before that service was cookout night. And we were chatting a little bit before this started with you, a little bit about cookout night. And back in the day, what I remember about cookout night is it was a totally, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying kind of a cookout experience where a bunch of us teenagers would, throw burgers on. And I didn't know it ever changed from that. But Paul Roberts told me, it got significantly more professionalized. So
Right.
maybe you could tell the viewers a little bit about how cookout night was when you started and how it was when you left and what kind of, arc that was over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to set up rolling racks, right? Of stuff for the guys, to go out and do their thing. And I don't know when it started. I think was it Howard or was it Doug that pulled
I think
that
it
out?
was. I think it right at that transition between. It was Howard's last year before he became executive director of Wilshire Boulevard Temple and
Right.
brought Doug in. That
Yeah.
that came to an
That
end.
came around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it still was pretty relaxed, for my staff and everybody. Like I wouldn't be there, the guys would kind of go down and execute that. But I always liked, efficiency. So we would have three identical buffets set up so that everybody could go through quickly and get what they want. And then as everybody goes through, we would kind of we'd reduce it back down to one line for seconds kind of thing. And so it was just trying to be efficient and, take care of everybody down on the field because, you bring them all down to the field. It's a whole logistical thing. So yeah, so that's kind of how it evolved. But there was always somebody in charge of watermelon cutting for up until that got taken away. But it was always a good time it's always good when the staff is able to be down with the kids and kind of mingling and interacting with the kids, and we didn't have that window behind us. I think that really brought the spirit together with my staff and the campers. And so yeah.
But it sounds like it was always sort of a professional operation from the beginning of when you got there, right? That it was more or less
Yeah.
kitchen staff doing the cookout and making
Yeah.
it happen right. That's a nice
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I would have trusted my counselors to cook me dinner.
I also I also took away leftover lunch. Was it Friday? Was leftover lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was yes.
We got rid of that one.
Yeah, I
But
remember that.
yeah, I really tried to and do good par levels. Par levels is how much do we need for this particular meal, and not running out, but not
Oh,
having so much left over that we'd have to save that and serve it another time. And that goes to food safety. cooling stuff down, heating stuff back up, and that all that kind of stuff that kind of took hold more and when I got there. So making sure that you have enough food, but not too much, was very important to me. Um, and I was able to track food costs and all that kind of stuff as I moved through the life at camp.
Was there much waste of food at the end of the week or the end of the day?
No, I
Not
mean,
really.
yeah, I mean, we adjusted as we went along. Sometimes there was, and sometimes we would serve, we would do like the late night meal might be, a couple of some leftovers or something like that, depending, so, we tried to keep that to a minimum as much as possible and not have that leftover day. That, yeah, so.
Yeah. So tell us if you can remember some of your favorite moments, not only working at camp, but also living at camp in that area. Is there anything that stands out, as particular days, evenings?
Well, Havdalah, you're right, Paul, was terrific and was a special time. My wife would go with the kids and sneak up to the top of the amphitheater, where all the staff were a little bit, and just watch that because that's really a special time. The film, the end of session video was always fun. We had some really good video hoogs back then. And Howard would be big involved in those. I remember one year it was like camp blew up or something, and Howard was the devil, or I don't know. It was a crazy one. So we would go to those as a family every year, and I really liked Leadership Night. I tried to be I try to blow them away on Leadership Night every year. We did
So
Which you
you're
sushi
did.
one
talking to the
year.
two
I
experts here,
remember.
right?
Yes, yes. Which you did.
Yes, I'm still in touch with that sushi chef. I had this sushi chef who would work all three sites for me, and he would come in and he would make some terrific sushi. And he came to Leadership Night once, and he did sushi for us. And we'd always try to, pull out all the stops. And doing weddings and bar mitzvahs, we were able to. We had the skill set to do those kind of things for that and just try to wow the kids a little bit, wow really the staff with that. Big Boppers was a good thing. When you get an applause from the camp, I go, okay, guys, watch this. And I'd roll out the Big Boppers, which was this huge ice cream sandwich. It was like,
Wow.
huge.
Wow.
And it was the calories, it was like 800 calories, you know, ridiculous.
But who's
But
It's,
they were
counting?
so good.
yeah, 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 but everything's calorie free at camp, and
That's
so
right.
you'd roll those out, and they would just go nuts. They would like scream. So those kind of things was just awesome.
I think I was
Um,
That's
once at a Chabad Shabbat, and the rabbi brought out the challah, and I think he said, "You must have it. It's instant weight loss. It's negative calories." Yeah.
yeah, right. There you go.
that's it.
So
That's good.
yeah,
Yep.
that was the positive about dairy meals, was that you could have a dairy dessert, and so then you could pull out the Big Bopper or whatever like that. But and then some of the groups that we had in the off season were just phenomenal. Camp Harmony was just wonderful. They came February and right after camp left in end of August. It was always such a transition. We'd flip the place in a day, and then Camp Harmony would be there, which
Tell us
was
who they
just
were, because I don't think many people
they
know.
yeah, the Slutskys family run Camp Harmony, and it's kids from all over Los Angeles that might be living in a hotel or depressed in some way, that they would come to camp and they would put on this week-long event for them, ending with this huge carnival at the end of the thing. It was just really incredible what they did. And they would bring in professional basketball players and, professional athletes every year, and just incredible. They took over both Hilltop and Kramer each year. I think they put the older kids at Hilltop and they had the younger kids at Kramer. And so it would be 800 people. And they were very well organized. They had golf carts and they had everything you needed to do the job. And just a wonderful organization. They're in Ojai now, and I see them on Facebook all the time, and still in touch with Rana and Adam a little bit. But just a wonderful group. We also did the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles every year. They would come in February on a 3-day weekend. They were incredible, just very happy, very honored and glad to be there. They would practice in Baru Hall, and then for their upcoming season, they would start their season there. It's kind of a get together and a team building kind of weekend at camp, and they were 6 meals, and so they would end on Sunday lunch, and then they would all get together and sing 2 songs for us as a kitchen staff as their thank you. And oh my God, I could cry right now. I mean, to have 150 men chorus singing to you, and we're like 20 people there. It was just incredible. And so, those kind of groups were just incredible. The traditional folk dance federation in the off season was really fun. They would dance in different halls, Brew Hall, Gildred Hall, and the dining hall, and they would set up a dance floor in the different halls, professional dance floor, and they would dance all weekend. A little bit like having your mother-in-law, times 150 at camp. So they were a little high maintenance, but wonderful all the same. We'd have special instructions for them, like no watery salads and no, just things that would like mistakes that we would made 20 years ago would still
Yeah.
be on the special instructions. you know, it's like, oh, okay, no drippy dips was another one. No drippy dips. And I'm like, okay, all right, so those kind of groups were terrific in the off season. And NADA, National Association of Temple Administrators. Rochelle Ginsburg was in charge of them. She's like the Martha Stewart of temple administrators, and so everything had to be like, I would like think about that menu, and that was like the counselors, like I would try to wow them every year. And that she would be all over it. She'd be like watching. I mean, we're really good friends, but boy, don't mess up. No drippy dips with them, but they were awesome. And we'd always end with an omelet bar on most of these groups. So you're doing an omelet bar for 150 guys. Everybody had to know how to do an omelet bar. We bring out the dishwashers to help with the omelet bar. Put them in a chef jacket. Here we go. But it was a good close. It was always a good close to do the omelet bar because you're there in front of them. You're able to take the good and the bad. And mostly good, but you're there making an omelet for them. And so that was always a good time.
John, we have a saying, if you ask 2 Jews, you get 3 opinions. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can imagine
yeah,
that,
yeah.
there could be a lot of people who were very particular about how they wanted the food prepared. I could imagine for
Right.
different
Yeah,
groups.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the fun things that I found last year at the Wilshire Boulevard Temple Camp's poker tournament, which happens every year, and I think again this year in March 19th, I believe, which is a Thursday, 2026. And the parting gift at the poker tournament, when you walked out the door, you got a little clamshell container of John Bard coffee cake.
Yep.
And it made me think, in the 25 years that you were with the camps, obviously up until the Woolsey fire, uh, what do you feel that your legacy has brought to the camps that, it will be important today, and will be important when we all get back to Malibu as soon as we all can.
All right. Yeah, that John Bart. When I saw that picture of, on, I think I forget who sent it to me, but I was like, wow, that's incredible. And even at Browerman, they still call it John Bart coffee cake. Even the kids that don't know who John Bart is, are calling it John Bart coffee
That's
cake.
your
So,
legacy.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. It just warms my heart. I mean, I was there long enough that campers had their kids come to camp, and they would bring their kid up, and this is John Bard, John Bard told me showed me how to like broccoli, and those kind of things, and so it's just amazing, that it came about like that, and that I was I've always been passionate about food and passionate about um, doing a good job in that naval background and keeping it, structured and da 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 da. And so I was a chef before the cooking channel, and so I was in it for for the the passion of it and just pleasing people. And it just blew up. It just blew up into this way that my John Bard coffee cake, and and people coming back. And I used to always say that people think that we're all in a box, and that they come back every year to expect it to be the way they remember it. And and I tried to give them that, just make sure that we're building memories here, and it was just such a joy and such an honor to be able to do that, and to make camp so special that they named the coffee cake after me. So it's just amazing.
Rabbi Eshel actually told the story of when he asked you how to make the coffee cake during one of his little speeches during services. And he's like, I tried to make
Right.
it, and, it was okay, but it wasn't really great. And so so I made it with you in the kitchens, and it was great, but then I tried it back in my apartment again, and it was just not the same. It's like,
Not the same.
what's the missing ingredient? Of course, the answer was love. And to be able to still have that is like, it's, we don't have coffee cake on Saturday mornings anymore, which is quite sad, but that is the constraints of the kitchens that we're working with right now. But the stories, and they still endure even to kids who have never set foot in Malibu at this point. And even some of the staff members who are getting, we're getting to a point where the staff members are almost that post fire era, not that close, but
Right.
it's so, the coffee cake is, the coffee cake, the grilled cheese sandwiches, eating as many taquitos until you puke. They're all still, they're a great part of your legacy that are, still spoken of so highly on almost a daily basis at camp.
Oh, and and that's, I just rode the wave of Camp S. Kramer and Hilltop Camp, because you're right, it doesn't taste the same outside of camp. The cedar plank salmon on Brewer Lawn is, that's the ingredient, Brewer Lawn. I mean,
Right.
probably the most important ingredient.
And the septic tanks
You know,
below.
yeah, oh yeah. Remember those? Oh yeah, remember those? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The little
Well,
ode,
Soon to be not in no septic tanks.
yeah.
so maybe
So,
as we draw down in our interview of you, maybe we could think the reverse of your legacy left at the camps is, what legacy have the camps brought to you and your present and your future? And so tell us what you're doing now, and tell us if anything from the camps have influenced your life now and into the future.
Very good question, Paul. I still do camp consulting for camps, bringing systems to various camps in order for them to have a good, consistent product and be able to track their financials on that kind of stuff. Because especially camps out here in Colorado are like old time camp where they come in, they're closed in the off season because there's 8 feet of snow on the ground, and so they're always trying to reinvent the wheel every year. And so what I do is I come in and have a structure for them: scheduling, order guides, menus, allergy protocols, that kind of stuff. So it's a plug and play type scenario for whoever they bring in to run their facility. And that gives the power to the director, who sometimes doesn't, or most of the time doesn't have a food service background. And so they can know what's going on in the kitchen and be able to control their costs and their quality and their consistency throughout the summer. So that's my side gig. My real gig now is I work for Cedar School District, which is in Fort Collins. There's 50 schools in the district, and I am a supervisor for 13 of those schools. There's four supervisors in the district, and so I have like a couple high schools, a couple middle schools, and a bunch of elementary schools that I run the food service for. Very USDA operated. We have a nutritionist, we have purchasers, we have all the stuff that I used to do at camp that's all taken care of, and I'm just kind of going around and making sure that my lunch ladies are happy and they have everything they need, and that kind of stuff. So it's a different skill set, but um, it allows me to have summers off, and I take Christmas off and the holiday winters off, and so it and weekends, which is nice. So I do that. But the legacy that I take back, what camp gave me, is immeasurable. My kids are, I'm going to cry. My kids are who they are today because of camp. Um, they're very well rounded. They're very, they're just smart. And, I couldn't have asked for anything, more than that. And, growing up in Malibu, of course, was wonderful. We still have friends there. It was, as I said, I hit the home run, and I was just jogged around the bases for 25 years, and it was just remarkable. And even you moving on to my experiences at the Temple and at Browerman, and being able to, I launched the school lunch program for both those sites, and that's kind of what got me into the school lunch program here and being a supervisor, because I managed multiple sites, and I was able to, I had that school lunch situation. So that kind of launched me into this career here. And, I'm going to ride this one until I retire. So, and it's a perfect, I work 190 days a year right now. And so I'm able to do my consulting and stay in the camping world, but also have insurance. You know how
Yeah,
that goes,
there you go.
right?
Absolutely.
So anyway,
Well, John, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to talk with us today, and it's fantastic conversation.
thank you. Yeah.
And thank you for coming back with your camp memories from Kramer to the Hill.
All right. Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you
Great
for
to see you
joining
too.
us for part 3 of our conversation with John Bard. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on our next conversation with a player to be named later. And don't forget to tune into part 1 and part 2 and our conversation with Dan Wolf if you haven't already. Those are all linked down into the description. And don't forget to mark your calendars for camp's upcoming summer events in Carlsbad, including Mitzvah Night on June 27th, Shabbat 75 on Friday, July 24th, and Leadership Night on Saturday, July 25th. If you haven't heard from the camps in a while, you can update your contact information by visiting wbtcamps.org/alumni/updateyourinfo, which is linked down in the description. And that's how you'll be able to hear when registration opens for all of the events. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next conversation.
A 1, 2, a 1.